The Belling of the Cat by Aesop. In the dark corners and hidden passageways of an old farmhouse, there lived a large community of mice who had made their home in the walls, under the floorboards, and behind the kitchen cabinets. For many generations, they had lived relatively peaceful lives, venturing out at night to gather crumbs and bits of food that the human family had dropped during the day. But this peaceful existence came to an abrupt end when the farmers brought home a large, sleek cat to deal with what they saw as a growing mouse problem. The cat was young, quick, and had an excellent sense of hearing and smell. Worse yet, she seemed to take great pleasure in hunting mice. From the moment the cat arrived, life became a constant terror for the mouse community. The cat was silent and stealthy, appearing suddenly and without warning in places where the mice had always felt safe. She would lurk motionlessly in the shadows for hours, waiting for an unsuspecting mouse to come within striking distance. Many mice were caught before they even knew the cat was nearby. Others barely escaped with their lives, returning to their hiding places with tales of the cat's lightning-fast paws and razor-sharp claws. The mice found themselves trapped in their own homes, afraid to venture out even for food. The youngest mice were too frightened to leave their nests, and the oldest mice spoke sadly of the days when they could roam the house freely without fear.
Something must be done. We cannot continue to live in such terror. If we don't find a solution soon, our entire community will starve or be destroyed.
But what can we do? That cat is too big, too fast, and too clever for us. We're no match for her in a fight.
We need to call a meeting. All mice, gather in the great space behind the kitchen stove tonight. We must put our heads together and find a way to deal with this threat.
That evening, when the human family had gone to bed and the house was quiet, mice began to emerge from every corner, crack, and crevice. They came from the basement, the attic, the pantry, and every room in between. Soon, the space behind the kitchen stove was filled with dozens of mice, all chattering nervously about their dangerous situation. The eldest mouse called for order.
Friends and family, we all know why we're here. This cat has made our lives impossible. We need to find a solution that will allow us to live safely in our own home once again.
Many suggestions were offered. Some mice proposed building better hiding places, but others pointed out that the cat seemed to find every hiding spot eventually. Some suggested organizing group expeditions for food, but the cat had proven capable of catching multiple mice at once. One particularly small mouse suggested they all move to a different house, but the elder mice explained that leaving their ancestral home would be both dangerous and difficult, especially for the young and elderly members of their community. As the discussion continued, the mice became more and more discouraged. Every plan they proposed seemed to have insurmountable problems. They were beginning to despair when a young, clever mouse named Pip stood up to speak.
I have an idea. What if we could always know when the cat is coming? What if we had some kind of warning system that would tell us when she's approaching?
The other mice looked at him with interest.
Go on. What kind of warning system do you have in mind?
Pip's eyes sparkled with the brilliance of his idea.
A bell. We attach a bell to the cat's collar. Then, whenever she moves, the bell will ring, and we'll always know exactly where she is and when she's coming.
The assembled mice immediately began buzzing with excitement. It was a brilliant solution. With a bell around the cat's neck, they would never again be caught by surprise. They could continue their daily activities with confidence, knowing that they would always have advance warning of the cat's approach.
Pip, you're a genius.
This will solve all our problems.
We'll be able to live normal lives again.
The mice spent the next hour enthusiastically discussing the details of Pip's plan. They talked about what kind of bell would be loudest, how they could make sure it was securely attached, and how much safer their lives would be once the plan was implemented. As the excitement died down and the mice began to make plans for putting the idea into action, the eldest mouse stood up again.
This is indeed a wonderful plan. Young Pip has shown great cleverness in devising such a solution. There is, however, one small detail that we still need to work out.
The mice looked at him expectantly, waiting to hear what minor issue remained to be resolved.
The question is this: who is going to put the bell on the cat?
Suddenly, the space behind the kitchen stove fell completely silent. The mice looked around at each other, and the reality of their situation began to sink in. Pip, who had been so proud of his clever idea, now looked thoughtful and somewhat worried.
Well, it would have to be someone very brave and very quiet and very fast.
And very willing to risk their life.
One by one, the mice began to realize the enormous danger involved in actually carrying out the plan. To put a bell on the cat, someone would have to sneak up on her while she was sleeping, get close enough to attach the bell to her collar, and then escape before she woke up. Even if the cat were sound asleep, the slightest noise or movement could wake her, and whoever was attempting to attach the bell would certainly be caught and killed.
I would volunteer, but I'm not very good at sneaking quietly.
I might be able to do it, but my paws shake when I'm nervous, and I don't think I could attach the bell properly.
I'm too old for such dangerous work.
I'm too young and inexperienced.
One by one, every mouse in the gathering found a reason why they couldn't be the one to carry out the plan. Some of the reasons were valid, others were simply excuses, but the result was the same. No one was willing to volunteer for the dangerous task. As dawn approached and the meeting drew to a close, the mice dispersed to their hiding places, no safer than they had been before. Pip's plan remained just that, a plan, because no one was brave enough to put it into action. The eldest mouse was the last to leave. As he made his way slowly back to his nest, he thought about the night's events and the lesson they had all learned.
It's easy to propose solutions. The real challenge is finding someone willing to carry them out.
Moral: it's easier to suggest a solution than to carry it out. A plan is only as good as one's willingness and ability to implement it. Many ideas that sound wonderful in theory prove impossible in practice because no one is willing to take the risks involved.